Okay, so we are almost to the end of our short videos. Um, I wanted to do a few more short ones, particularly the one video for each of the Eightfold Path. So I did a video on the entire Eightfold Path, which obviously cannot do the Eightfold Path proper justice, because the Eightfold Path um, is has eight aspects. It's an eightfold path, and each one needs its own video. However, even one short video, doesn't do each one proper justice, um, because really you could probably spend an hour, uh, 2 hours, 3 hours on each one. So it's really impossible to do it justice in such a short amount of time. So I did an overview of the Eightfold Path, but even going back and doing each individual one, it's impossible to do each individual one justice with a very short video. But what I'm going to do is just give an introduction to each one and go deeper than what we did before. But even then, I will want to maybe make some longer videos where we really go into its full depth as much as possible. So the Eightfold Path again is right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So today, obviously, we're doing right understanding. So as we said, right understanding is not the same as what you would think from maybe a Christian standpoint of right doctrine. Um, in the ancient Greek, it would be something like orthodoxia, which is like right glory, right doctrine, which basically means you believe the right stuff, essentially, and you worship the right way. And we're not doing that in Buddhism. In Buddhism, right understanding is essentially trying to see things as they really are, and trying to look at um, the our main goal, which is to eliminate suffering. Right. So looking at suffering and the cause of suffering, and that's essentially what it is. So the right understanding looks at the Four Noble Truths. Now, those Four Noble Truths, by itself, you could do a really long video and look at each one, and maybe even do a full video on each one, maybe an hour long or longer. And so we can't do that here because I'm trying to keep these videos short. So the Four Noble Truths, when you have those Four Noble Truths and you understand it on a very deep level, that is right understanding. It's not an intellectual understanding, because even if you intellectually understand it, if it's not embedded deep down within you, you don't have it yet. And so intellectually we can help ourselves by studying it, but we have to go deeper. We have to put it into practice. So the Four Noble Truths. Let's look at what they are. The first one is the noble truth of, and I'll use the word in their language first, dukkha. And I don't know if I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly at all. It's Dukkha, if I'm remembering correctly. It's the word that is usually translated to suffering, and the reason why I used the actual word, even though I don't know how to pronounce it properly, is because even though it's been translated to suffering, it's not necessarily the best translation. We do the best we can. Translators do a wonderful job. They're not perfect, and there's not always a perfect translation for the word. In the case of dukkha, there isn't a perfect translation for the word, so there really wouldn't be a more perfect word to translate it to. Any word is going to have its own limitations. So when they translate it to suffering, the problem with the word suffering as a translation is that you may think of it as like, I broke my arm and I'm in pain. And if you eliminate suffering, shouldn't that mean you never have any sickness, you never throw up, you never vomit, you never have diarrhea, you never have like cancer or breaking bones or just physical pain, right? And no, once you reach nirvana, you're still going to have physical pain because it's not that kind of suffering. Okay, so another way that I've seen it translated is dissatisfaction. Um, this inability to stop and pause and be content. So it's a sense of discontentedness. That might not even be a word, but let's use it anyways. Discontentedness and dissatisfaction. Just unable to be happy or satisfied. Okay, so that is the first noble truth. The second noble truth is the root or the cause of that dissatisfaction, of that suffering. And the cause, according to the Buddha, was clinging or attachment. So it's been translated as desire, it's been translated as attachment, clinging. Essentially the idea is it's not just like I want to go to the store type desire. I need some food. I want to eat. That's not what the Buddha was talking about. And so that's why some people have rendered the translation as clinging attachment. It's like if you were to burn down my house, okay, I have a certain attachment to that house. Like, so the pain and suffering that would be caused because of that, would I be able to still be content with myself? Okay. And to be happy in myself, even if my house burned down. So tragedies are going to happen in life, inevitably, unfortunately, right? And when those uh, inevitable things happen, what we have to be aware of is that I could still choose happiness. And it's easier said than done. There are plenty of things. If you destroy mine, I'm going to be very unhappy and very maybe angry, maybe depressed. Like if my car broke down today, I'd probably be extremely distressed. And that's obviously because I have not reached nirvana yet. I am not enlightened. Okay, but that is the kind of attachment we're talking about. Okay, so attachment is the root of the suffering. So what do we do about that? So the third noble truth is that there is a way to eliminate suffering, and some of these sound like almost like, what else could you even say about that? Particularly this one, but there's actually teachings that like this when you actually break it down into the Buddhist teachings, this truth also encompasses the if I'm remembering correctly, I've seen like there's either 3 or 4 different phases of enlightenment, the levels of enlightenment, and being able to recognize where you are on the path and things like that. So, there are deeper teachings within that, but it sounds pretty simple and pretty straightforward at first, is that there is a way. And then the fourth noble truth is the actual way, which is the Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path is the actual teaching in depth that liberates from suffering.